Hey, Geekscapists, how are y'all doing? I hope you're doing okay. I hope it's been a pretty awesome week for you. I don't even know what time it is, except I now count the times by Geekscape episodes. After the last episode, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the Geekscape Brain Trust that we've gathered on the Facebook group, Geekscape Forever. If you're not a member of the Geekscape Forever Facebook group, go over there. Apply. Maybe we'll let you into our private Facebook group. But what I did was I went over there and I said, I'm going to start a poll to ask y'all what kind of Geekscape episodes you enjoy the most. We have all sorts of Geekscape episodes on the feed going back a very long time. A lot of the Geekscape episodes have guests. But after last week, Katie and I were just kicking it, talking news and reviews with a lot of y'all in the comments and watching live and talking with us. It was a fun show. It had a lot of back and forth with you. And it just felt good. So a part of me said, you know what? The guests are great. Not all the guests work. So maybe Katie and I will do some more news and review shows. I used the Facebook group, Geekscape Forever, to throw up a poll and say, okay, listen. What kind of Geekscapes do y'all want? You get three choices. You can have guest Geekscapes. You can have news and reviews of Geekscapes, just classics, like with Katie and I talking news and reviews. She's funny and knowledgeable, much more so than I am. And then, like, the third option is sometimes we have panel discussions with the whole Geekscape crew, where Matt Kelly, Derek Crenevelt, and Shane, Katie, we all get together and we just kind of jam and talk stuff. So, that's kind of what we offer here. And if this is your first Geekscape, well, Katie and I are about to talk some serious news and reviews. We're going to talk a little bit about Mulan. We're going to talk about that new Dune trailer that dropped. And usually we just talk a little bit about pop culture. So you got that coming to you today. We're going to be joined by Katie's boyfriend, Mark. He's going to jump in with us and do all those things with us. So it's going to be another classic Geekscape. Next week, we do have a guest. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not saying the guests are going away. The guests are definitely never going to go away, but I did poll you all, and I looked at the results, and it's clear that y'all like to come to me for your news and reviews, which is insane. Could also be, now that with the addition of Katie, that y'all just trust her. So expect a little bit more of those episodes filtering into the feed. I still like having guests on the show, but this is your Geekscape. And I like doing these once, twice a week. And I'm trying to find the regular times. But again, I'll find a schedule that works. We've been doing these live episodes for almost 6 months now, 5 months now. So we're getting into the groove. It only took me 5 months. And just expect that kind of stuff to start becoming a little more consistent. We're seeing some comments about things that we're talking. Sean Dowling says, your skies are clearing up, brother. No, they are not. I'm in Los Angeles, Sean, and we have fires. Maybe not as bad as Northern California. Did you all see the pictures of San Francisco? San Francisco looks like Blade Runner. 2049 or whatever, that Dennis Villeneuve version from a couple of years ago, where everything was like red and sci-fi. That the pictures coming out of San Francisco from like noon today look insane. Salem, Oregon. There's a picture, if y'all find it, where there is a mail delivery truck, and it looks like that scene in T2 Judgment Day, where it's Judgment Day and like all the kids on the playgrounds get like turned to ash. So yeah, Sean, I appreciate you saying that our skies are clearing up, brother. But the truth is, Sean, there's still a lot of ash in the air, and we do need y'all to find better ways of having gender reveal parties. I'm not going to say don't have a gender reveal party if that's important to you. If you want to be like, hey, I'm a little lacking for social media and Instagram content. I'm going to reveal this Xerox human that I made of myself and their gender online. That should get me a couple clicks. If that's important to you, just don't do it with an incendiary explosive device. Okay, don't have the Acme Corporation build you a gender reveal device like they're giving a bunch of rocket skates to Wile E. fucking Coyote. Okay, don't like ask the Riddler to make your gender reveal device. That's not going to go well. So please stop burning down acres of land and destroying stuff. And Sean Dowling does clarify. He says, it's clear today I'm in Santa Clarita. So yeah, cool. I know exactly where you are. And yeah, things are a little bit clearer. Jim Pugnelli says, so how long is California and the Pacific Northwest going to look like Night of the Comet? I got to tell you, I will wait as long as possible, as long as Mary Catherine Stewart shows up. She's the actress from Night of the Comet and also Flight of the Navigator, who I once saw at a convention and didn't have the guts to go and talk to until my brother Paul started tweeting at her behind my back and making fun of me. And then they started tweeting at each other, and I was just ashamed, and I ran away. But yeah, it does kind of look like Night of the Comet. And Ian Rainey in Austin says, does Super Action Man take down gender reveal parties? No, Super Action Man is like, hey, First Amendment, you want to have a gender reveal party? Have a gender reveal party. You can express yourself. You can celebrate this new addition to your family, but don't blow crap up in the process. Like, that is definitely not something that he's all about. So I don't know. I'll call Super Action Man. I don't think he's been to a gender reveal party in a long time. I think the last time he went to a gender reveal party was every now and then he helps the Park Service whenever they have a bald eagle deliver eggs, and the egg hatchlings hatch. He's usually pretty much there for that. That's about as close as he gets to gender reveal parties, because he is a true patriot. Okay, because we're talking about Super Action Man, I got to drop it right now at the top of the show. Not only do I want y'all to go to like iTunes or Spotify, wherever you're listening to Geekscape, and leave us like a 5-star review or, you know, 4-star review. We're not going to be picky about it. Leave us a review. That always helps whenever we go out to guests and we say, hey, guests, we'd love for you to come on our show. It definitely helps if we have some cool reviews when they're like, hey, what is this Geekscape thing that they want me to come on? Sometimes they go on these Spotifys and the reviews and they say, oh, that sounds good. They've got a pretty rad fan base and a bunch of fans. We'll go and be on the show. So that always helps us out. So if you're listening to this show and you're just listening to me drone on, take the time to go online, wherever you got this podcast, and leave a nice review on whatever podcatcher you like. I'm sure there's one on your phone right now that you'd be like, okay, podcasts, go to Geekscape, 3 stars. And this podcast is funny, or this podcast is not funny, or this podcast is finally good because Katie is on it. Whatever you want to write, go for it. I'm down with it. But because we mentioned Super Action Man, I'm also going to mention that I need you all to register to vote. Wherever you live right now, chances are you've got a few days or weeks left to register to vote. The election is November 3rd, and we really need to kind of turn the country around. So this is my public service announcement at the top of the show to say, hey, welcome to Geekscape. Get yourself some cola and some chips, kick back, listen to us talk about some pop culture, but also register to vote. Because if not, I don't know. I mean, maybe we all get put into slave camps. I don't know. That's ridiculous. Or is it? All right. Suddenly it's Days of Future Past. Remember, like the X-Men comics, like the future that Bishop comes from, where like all the mutants have like those tattooed ends on their faces. You guys know what I'm talking about. Y'all are X-Men fans. Days of Future Past. It can happen. We can all be put in like weird mutant camps and around like, hey, that one's trans and that one's Asian, that one's based on race and economics and work. Let's just put right. Welcome to sorry, this is what happens when I'm left alone. I eat up 10 minutes of blabbering. How are you, kiddo? Are you doing all right?
I'm doing all right. I feel like I just witnessed you melt down a little bit, and also you were glitchy as hell. So I was like, where are we in this conversation? I think some other people are seeing it too and getting a little breakup in this. But I don't know if it's a mental breakup or just an internet breakup.
Rick YouTube is break it up.
Yeah, you're roboting.
Robot voice.
Yeah, you're roboting just a little bit there, buddy. Yeah, but I do know that you went into the X-Men. That happened real hard.
I reset my computer. I restart my routers. I do all my stuff, and it's still not good enough. It's still not good enough for StreamYard. You know.
Oh, that's.
If there are streaming alternatives, I don't mind dipping on this platform and finding another way to stream. If y'all that, then why not? Rick, though, also went on. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting there. How? We're getting there.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any way to keep me going while you refresh. I don't know if that's a possibility, but that might be something that you need to do because you're breaking up mad.
Okay. It's that bad, right? Hold on, Katie.
Okay.
Continue your show.
Okay.
Talk about whatever you want to talk about. I really don't care. I will be right.
Okay.
Back.
I'll talk about whatever I need to talk about.
Whatever you do.
You do your thing. I'll still be here. Oh my goodness, it's my full face. How's it going, everybody? Great things coming around each day. We've got some really good trailers and things like that. I don't know about you guys, but I've been hitting the Minecraft really hard these days. I've been trying to make myself a nice silo, and it's been really difficult because I've been in survival mode and bedrock mode, and I'm not gonna lie, it's been a task to try and figure out a lot of stuff that hasn't been progressed because I am playing on a Switch at the moment, and the bedrock version of Minecraft, not as much fun as like maybe the new JavaScript and things like that. I can't select the comments, but I do have George Arthur saying, I wonder if after a long day of crime fighting in tight spandex underpants, does Super Action Man actually take huge bong rips and all kinds of paraphernalia? Just a thought. You know what? I'm pretty sure Super Action Man absolutely does that. I'm pretty sure that after a long day, he's just getting ripped and blazed. Oh, there we go. It switched for me. Cool. Thanks, Jonathan. No doubt. He might even be shooting up. Like, let's be real. He's just mainlining action through his veins at the moment. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Minecraft Dungeons is pretty solid. I do like Minecraft Dungeons. The creative aspect. Oh, what's up, Jonathan? You're back.
Katie, this is still, the majority of the audience is still a podcast. You can't just read the comments because the listeners don't know what the hell is going on.
They were coming in and I didn't know what to do because I have no control over here. So I went in to super action mode. I mainlined the action, dude.
Geekscape listeners, I'm really sorry about that. I hope that I'm not as glitchy right now, but yes, there have been comments coming in, and Katie's not just having freaking Tourette's and just like randomly saying.
I'm talking about Minecraft, man. That ain't random. I was just talking about my day in Minecraft and trying to build a silo. It's rough.
So, podcast listeners, I apologize. The video was glitchy, as you probably heard when I started doing the Mr. Roboto. I may still be doing Mr. Roboto, but yeah, Katie took the reins there.
I couldn't select the things to show people what the comments were, so I was rapid firing. It's weird without somebody to talk to. I'm not gonna lie to you there.
No, it's not. You saw me do it for 10 minutes at the top of the show. I talk to myself all the time.
It got weird, dude. It got weird.
You know what they say? One person's weird is another man's normalcy. They don't say that. I say that to justify my own BS.
Okay. All right. Well, you do you, man.
Yeah, Katie, I'm hoping that technically this is a little bit better than on the stream. Audio listeners, I'm really sorry about what you heard earlier. I'm going to throw it into the editor after this and be horrified by how awful the audio was. But like I said, if anybody out there is listening and has any experience with like streaming services that like these kind of podcast streaming things that go to Twitch and YouTube and Facebook all at once, if there's a better alternative to StreamYard, I don't mind bouncing because that's not cool. And I don't love the MP3 that they dumped me with afterwards. It's not fun. It's just not a nice sound. So I'm sorry, podcast listeners. How's your week been, kiddo?
It's been all right. It's been all right. Everything is, touch and go. Mark and I just shot a game room together, which was really fun, but is a bitch to edit. Apart from that, I did a little push to be as you already retweeted, push to be a G4 potential host, which I think would be a lot of fun, personally.
Yeah, what is that? Because
I don't know.
I know G4 is coming back, and G4, it feels like a social media stunt to be like, hey, if anybody you think would be amazing as a G4 host, use this hashtag and throw it out.
Yeah, they're likely just going for
like,
people with way more followers than I have. But it's a silly little campaign, and I thought it was fun. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I mean, I've already submitted through the proper avenues of my agent and other places, but I was like, well, might as well just throw together a tiny little reel here and put it out.
I think G4 would be awesome for you. I think they would need you. And there's just other. I mean, it's been 15 years. There's other networks that are doing this kind of stuff online. I'm
personally curious how they're gonna shoot it when everybody's in quarantine at the moment.
Well, there's this other network. I don't know if y'all know about this other network. It's called VANN, I think, or Van or something. Van.
VE. Yeah.
VE. And
one of my old co-hosts at Three Black Dot is on it right now.
Okay, so Ven is doing like this kind of thing, and they're bringing people to studios, and they've hired one or two friends of mine to write for them or do hosting stuff, and I'm like, okay, I get it. And Rick, though, he says Jonathan can pull strings at G4. His connections go way back. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm too old for that crap. Tech TV for life, Derek says. All that stuff was. I mean, have we told the people at G4 that there's an internet now?
I don't know if they know yet. They're catching up. So that little commercial was a little infomercially, but I thought it was great.
I mean, do they remember Comic-Con TV or like? I mean, they know about these things, right? They know that like people now get their content in different ways than watching a dedicated channel. I mean, have they seen the things that have happened to some of these networks like Nerdist or, like they're okay, but like everybody's just kind of doing it for themselves on Spotify or not Spotify on Twitch and stuff like.
Yeah, and well, I mean, there's just so many streaming services that are one big streaming service that's kind of just going down. But yeah, I don't know. Look, I feel like there has been such a big push in entertainment to like tap into the entertainment market of gaming, and people haven't quite figured that out yet, especially when it comes to esports and all the content that like should have a lot of focus and maybe even should have an entire channel focused on that kind of content. But my favorite is when you get into the seats of like some TV execs who don't quite understand gaming and
that's all of them.
Yeah.
That's all of them.
That's amazing.
All of them. From the machinimas on down, like how many times? I mean, but honestly, in the last 15 years working with those people, like how many times did you go over there in like every couple of months there'd be new people in there and they all, it's like this glut of like middle management Hollywood that gets a job over there. And next thing you know, nobody knows where the bones are buried or what this content is. And they're just trying to get like views and views and views. And they don't know how to build a community or anything. And like, go for it. Listen, This is why I want you on G4. You ready? I mean, listen, I'm going to say it right now.
All right.
Yes, I think you'd be a great host. Yes, I think you're knowledgeable. Yes, I think you're hilarious. Yes, I think you could give them all sorts of cool stuff. I want you to get paid, Katie.
No, I get it. And like, let me be very clear. When I was at Machinima, and this was in like the later days, right before they died, they were doing some really, really cool stuff. And that was I was getting paid very well. And I was able to produce my own content. I had a great team who actually knew what they were doing. They knew about gaming. They taught me a lot about gaming, especially just in VR. VR power hour, buddy. But I don't know. The other
talking to yourself again, Katie.
No, I'm not. I am just talking, man. No, the next couple digital companies that I worked with, it was like, have you guys ever picked up a controller? Here's a fun story that I won't say who it was, but one company I worked for, we were trying to do a Princess Peach sketch. Oh, no, we're trying to do a Dr. Mario sketch. And they didn't know how you could tell that Mario was a doctor, even though he had a lab coat on and he had the whole like Dr. Mario getup. So they made us put a diploma on the wall that said that he was a doctor. And we're like, this is not, we're in a doctor set. How do we not know?
If he's holding a giant pill, I think he's Dr. Mario. Like, if it's a giant red and blue pill, I think we got it. But you know what? Like, how many kids? There seems to be a disconnect. All I gotta say is, like, a lot of that content, then channels, the internet beats you to it. Katie, I wish you the best.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.
Look,
it's just one of those things, you know, put it out there, we'll see. And if nothing else, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, man.
Okay, speaking of what you're doing, here's the person you do. Mark is on. Everybody, this is...
I'm sorry, I heard somebody knows what they're doing.
This is Katie's boyfriend, Mark. Mark, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good.
Mark, we've actually talked about Mark
quite a bit
the last 2 episodes. The last time I saw Mark before the quarantine was actually Katie's birthday last summer. But we talked about you a bit the last 2 episodes because of the COVID crisis and the fact that you lost your father like to COVID, which is just be horrible. And I'm sorry, that is definitely one of my biggest fears in life is losing my dad. And this COVID thing, you know firsthand, it's not all about this existing conditions and the 6% and all this garbage that were being pushed. You saw it firsthand. You suffered from it firsthand. Mark, my condolences, man. I'm so sorry about all of it.
I appreciate it, man.
So how you doing?
I'm great.
What have you been up to? Like, Katie, I honestly have not seen you since Katie's birthday last year.
I've been.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Wow.
Yeah.
Have we seen anybody? No. But you're a gamer. You're a geek. I feel like you can drop some knowledge on us. And what do you think about Katie's quest to become the next face of G4?
I've been thinking that since the day I met her that she should be on G4. Like I think there was no G4 when I met her; it was already defunct. And I was like, "Oh, this woman needs to be on G4." Like she's just tailor made for it. She has the same energy as all of those classic hosts, the Pereiras, your Munns, your Alison Hayslips. Oh. She could slip seamlessly onto X-Play with Blair Herter, although he probably hit on her and marry her and stuff like that. And then
he already did that.
Yeah, she would be perfect. Absolute most perfect person to be on G4 because, well, I mean, she's not a poser. She knows all this. She knows everything. I mean, she's a gamer. She knows comedy. She knows tech. She knows all things.
There were definitely moments in G4 where the hosts would have those awkward moments where they didn't know necessarily what they were talking about, and
especially on a tech of the show.
Yeah, on a tech of the show, you'd just be like, "Oh, Hollywood actor gets a gig hosting." So, I mean, I think if G4 is going to survive, it's got to really be of the fans.
Yeah,
the fans. It's really got to be the thing Katie can provide,
and have Katie. Like that's really the only way it survives.
This is not uncomfortable for me at all, guys. This is great.
You know what? Like, so anyway, Mark, talk to me. I'm just kidding. So, Mark, how did you all meet? Because Katie, and I have been friends for a while, and then I look up and there's this dude in her life, and there wasn't always dudes in her life. No, I mean, not that I knew of.
Okay.
That's what I've been told. Yeah. We met at a comedy show.
You met at a comedy show.
That's right. I changed her. We met at a comedy show. We met at a friend's comedy show. It was a Christmas themed comedy show, and it was a really cute story. They were handing out name tags for everyone to wear, and the name tags were they were pre-signed and they had like Christmas names on it. So I picked John McClane and she picked Hans Gruber. And we'd never met each other or anything like that. She's sitting behind me and I turn around and I see Hans Gruber on there and I'm like, well, Hans, And she's like, Mr. McLean and things like that. And we chatted a little bit, and then we chatted after the show. And I asked her out like a day or two later. And there it is. That's it. That's the name.
Saved it. It was the first time I met him, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I need to save this.
Geekscape listeners, Heidi, that's my girl. Katie just had a friend with his Hans Gruber name tag in there. We were just making fun. Wait, let's just hold on.
I love that it's still on me, and you're going a little robot again. Just to let you know.
We were just making fun of the people at your last job, Katie, for spelling the Dr. thing with the diploma, and your boy here had to spell out the Hans Gruber thing with the name tag. Like, I don't know.
You gotta label things to let them know. You gotta label things to make sure that everybody knows what you are, what you're about, what degree you have.
So, so what was like the thing y'all connected on? Like, was it a song? Was it something where like were you introduced by somebody, or you just happened to catch you up?
It was literally he was sitting in front of me at this show, and we started talking about the whole Die Hard thing, and that was the first year I'd actually seen Die Hard.
Oh wow! Yeah, Heidi just saw it recently, and as Jim points out, Jim from Brooklyn, he says, "Okay, now I need a complaint brewer / fix on my life."
That'd be awesome.
So, like, we all were just friends at first, or like whatever. I'm interviewing you like I'm her father, Mark. What's going on here?
What are your intentions?
What did you ask her out?
We'd never met before. We weren't friends. We were, no, I'd seen her in like photos before on Friends. Well,
completely nude.
We actually had met before 10 years prior and didn't realize it until we were like a year and a half in our relationship. I was producing a half-hour comedy on a nothing budget. Katie was doing background. I mean, this was 10 years ago. And I needed to fill in because we needed more people. So I just kind of moved in to pretend like I was a bartender in this big establishing shot. Turns out Katie was sitting right across from me, and I remember specifically flirting with her. We flirted. And then after that shot, we all moved on. But I have the footage. I had the raw footage, and we somehow through a conversation figured out she worked on that shoot, and we found it, and there were the two of us right next to each other, and we both remember flirting with each other, which is a really kind of. And then it was 10 years later that we actually like exchanged names and got to know each other.
So then, like, what was that? You didn't say, "Hey, you didn't know she was flirting with you," or vice versa. Like, why didn't that turn into the thing? Were y'all seeing other people?
No, at the time I was a very different person. So I'm actually glad that he didn't ask me out then, because that would have honestly not gone well. But
people date while they're on heroin, Katie. Like, you don't like.
You know, but like sometimes your true love is just. No. The thing was that it was a very early morning shoot. It was like at the 4 or 5. It was an awful early shoot, and I was not paid for that. Shoot, I somehow was like, yeah, I'll do this. This is what you do to pound the pavement. And I remember flirting with him, but I had no idea how to contact him or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So when they wrapped me on shoot, I was like, I'm so tired. I just want to go home. And then 10 years later, we just happened to meet, but we didn't realize this until 2 years into the relationship?
Something like that.
Yeah. So it took a hot minute to realize what had happened, but hey, caught him. So,
and Mark, just to vet you for the audience, what would you say are like your top 3 favorite geek properties? You're wearing an Avatar Airbender shirt right now.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say? If you're to go down the list and be like, I'm Marvel, Star Wars, in Mario Brothers, like, what would those 3 things be? And those are not necessarily mine, but like, what would those 3 things be, just to vet you for the audience, and so we get to know you and see if you are actually
sure.
Absolutely.
In no particular order, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's one of my might be my favorite show of all time.
Yes, awesome.
You know, I
TV
used
show,
to be a
not
big
movie.
Star Wars. I used to be a big Star Wars guy when there were more good movies than bad. I feel like that scale is tipped, so I don't really claim that. I mean, I still enjoy the classics, but I don't really claim that. A huge Star Trek: The Next Generation fan. It's actually because I'm a writer. It actually is what made me want to be a writer. I actually created my own Star Trek show when I was in high school.
Heidi. Yeah, I think I didn't hear Heidi yelling on the other side of the wall because that's her thing too.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, and also he
Nice.
wrote episodes for like this new Star Trek show when he was in high school, and they're actually really good.
That's
I wrote
amazing.
8 seasons worth of like synopses. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I bought technical manuals. I bought the Star Trek encyclopedia. I had it all. I was an absolute expert on Star Trek in like the late 90s and early 2000s, specifically Next Gen and the original crew movies. So, like,
All right, that was Mark, everybody. Sorry to drop him from the show, but I mean, Katie, this is Geekscape, not fucking Loserscape. Like, what the fuck was that? Like,
Are you shitting me right now?
How
kidding,
dare
Mark.
you,
I'm
sir?
kidding. I'm
How dare
kidding.
you?
The robot drops the one geek on here.
I haven't even gotten to the worst part yet.
Okay, wait, hold up, because I joke about just how intense that is, that you're in high school or middle school writing seasons of a Star Trek show that doesn't exist.
Yep.
But like, where did you grow up that like you were like, I'm gonna find my refuge in Star Trek and Next Generation? Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Atlanta for the most part. We moved to this small town in Tennessee called Lawrenceburg, very small rural town. And it was middle of 8th grade, didn't know anybody. And we actually moved into my grandmother's house, who was in a nursing home. So it was just a place to live. That things weren't great.
Yeah.
But she had cable, something we hadn't had in years, and she had HBO.
Oh,
And
wow.
on HBO was Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, which was the only Star Trek movie I hadn't seen at that point.
Yeah.
And
Sorry about that.
yeah, it's okay. And the movie opens with Captain Sulu on board the USS Excelsior, and I thought that was the coolest ship with the coolest name. And so I decided, in pure fan fiction form, I was going to create my own show that took place in the 24th century about the Excelsior. And so it was concurrent with the Enterprise, or maybe a little bit afterwards, and that was what it was going to be. And this was when I was in the middle of 8th grade, and because it was a rural town, I was from Atlanta, I had no friends. That's pretty much what I did for several years, and I just worked on this show imaginatively.
Do you know Mark Zickery? He's a former guest. He's doing like this thing called Space Command Online, but he is a huge Star Trek fan, and he actually is the person who crowdfunded, before he did crowdfunded for Space Command. Sometimes every Comic-Con they're sending at our booth, and Mark's a dear friend. He actually crowdfunded a Sulu fronted like episode of Star Trek that I think takes place on the Excelsior, but it was like a continuation of that storyline. But he only did one episode. He was able to get Uhura in it, Michelle Nichols in it. Like he did it, and I think it's online, but
It's awesome.
I think he cleared whatever license thing. You know, CBS is pretty vigilant with the license for Star Trek, and like it's pretty tough to do fan stuff online for Star Trek. And I think he got through whatever hurdles it took to put that up as a fan film. But Jim Pellegrelli, you know, he's going to throw you a tough question. He says, "Question: was Christian Slater part of your Excelsior Bridge crew because he was in the movie?"
No. Do you have hearing problems, mister? Mine took place in the 24th century.
Ooh,
Christian
wow.
Slater was already dead. I said, do you have hearing problems, mister? Because that's what Sulu said to Christian Slater.
Damn. Okay, Katie,
I know.
he's legit.
I know.
Legit.
That was kind of one of the things that, like, so on our first date, I was like, I don't know, like he might be like the, like, I don't know, the
Tread
wanting to be nerd. Yes, yeah, the wanting to be nerd. You know what it's like when you go on a date with somebody as a self-proclaimed nerd, and you're like, yeah, okay, we'll see. And one of the first things we talked about was like some of the scripts that he's writing, and some of our favorite things like Harry Potter and Avatar and all this stuff. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in this. Real deal.
Yeah, he kept batting 100 on that one. He's just like, oh yeah, I know. Yes, it is awkward when someone claims to be a geek and isn't, but you know, hopefully here on Geekscape, I'm wearing a Don't Hate Create shirt while we broadcast this live. Hopefully you help them along, but you know what? There's only so many dragging you can do if it's a corpse. If they're not really a geek, it's really tough. Mark, growing up in the South, were there fellow geeks? Was there a place like a comic book store where you could hang out? Was there like anywhere you could find some kind of like-minded geeks, or were you kind of alone in your fandom?
I was alone. I got my comics at the nearby pharmacy called Big B Pharmacy. I think that was the name of it. It eventually became a CVS, but it was called Big B or something like that. That's where I got my comics.
Jolly Bee or something.
I don't remember. I really don't. I mean, hell, I even worked there for like 2 years, and I do not. And the manager of the place was like, I don't know why we kept getting comic books. You were the only one that bought them. No, I didn't really meet fellow nerds, not like real fellow nerds, until college. And then it was like, and that's when people were quoting Monty Python, and they like that opened up a whole new avenue to me of geekdom that I had not explored. And that was really cool. It was the first time I felt like maybe I belonged somewhere. So for the longest time, like a lot of that shit I kept to myself. I didn't walk around telling the hillbillies I was creating my own Star Trek television show.
Were you pushed into sports? Like, were you did you do sports? Maybe you weren't pushed into it.
Yeah, I did sports. I wasn't pushed into it. I'm varied. I love baseball. I love basketball. I was a champion swimmer when I was a kid. So I kind of dipped my toe in both of those areas, in athletics and in geekdom.
Okay. All right.
Multifaceted.
Now, Katie, I feel like I'm on like this is like the second tier date for your relationship several years in, and I gotta tell you, like I'm gonna go ahead and stamp off on this guy. He's
okay. I love that this was like, hey, maybe we talk about your father. Now it's like, no, let's grill him to see how potential, like how far are we gonna go with this?
Well, here's the thing. I just added Katie a few weeks ago as my co-host. I wanted to add a co-host for a very long time. Things at Geekscape were shifting, obviously, with the pandemic, figuring out how to do it live streaming, figuring out like what the right ratio of guest episodes versus news episodes, etc. And then I always wanted Katie to be my co-host. We talked about doing live shows, etc. And here we are. But you know what? She comes with a partner, and I had to make sure that
it's her accessory.
If I was going to bring Katie into my family, I needed to bring Katie's family into my family. And
I like it.
It works. Okay? It works.
I'm your host-in-law.
There you go.
My host-in-law. Rick, though, has picked up on the fact that Katie is too happy listening to him talk about his geek days in college. It is cute. And I don't think we can say that she's too happy. She is just as happy as she should be.
Just happy enough.
This is adorable. Okay. So no, I think it's great. I think y'all are awesome. So we got to talk some news.
Yeah.
I think there's some big news today that we got the drop on this Dune trailer. We got the new trailer for the Denis Villeneuve, Dune, and I really loved like all of his movies. I think that I think the Blade Runner movie is probably the one I enjoyed the least because it's very long and I didn't think that it was necessary. But this is a guy who makes some pretty incredible films, and I mean I'm not the biggest Dune fan. We've watched Jodorowsky's Dune. It's a fantastic documentary about the Dune that never was, and we all wanted. And then obviously we have the David Lynch Dune that we remember as kind of campy from our childhoods. What did y'all think watching this Dune trailer?
I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know that this was dropping at all, and I was ecstatic. One, it looks really freaking cool. Two, there's like a ton of actors in there that I was like, oh, that was, and I was just like, shut up, just keep watching, and it was like, wait, but that's the person, and I had a big fight with myself. But yeah, no, I love the director. Arrival was one of my favorite movies. That's a fantastic film. But this looks so good.
Yeah. Mark, what'd you think?
Oh, it's funny. I've not been a Dune guy at all. I never read the book, and the movie was so lambasted. So, but I was very curious because I love this director, and I thought it looked so epic. And yeah, who's who of actors. It hooked me immediately, and I was pretty sure I was going to go see this movie no matter what, because I love Dennis. And
it's a technical way to say it.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, yeah. And I thought it was jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring. And boy, Hollywood's loving them some Timothée Chalamet lately. I tell you what.
Oh yeah.
Now we have Dave Bautista, and now we have Drax and Aquaman in the same movie. Who's the Aquaman actor? Jason Momoa. So we have Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa in the same movie. Guys who I think are incredibly charismatic and just ripped to hell. Jim Puccarelli says Villeneuve got Bautista's great career best performance in Blade Runner 2049. So he's happy that he's in it too. I thought that his performance in 2049 was kind of my favorite narrative. I like watching Blade Runner 2049. I kind of loved the mystery aspect that was early on in the film, but then as things started getting a little more into the mystery of the clones and this and that, or the replicants, I just kind of felt like some of it dragged too long between satisfying answers to anything, and it felt a little too
kind of a Blade Runner movie to begin with, though, isn't it? Like, they're pretty slow paced.
Go back and watch Blade Runner, and you're like, this is a little more contemplative than plot driven, and it's neat. But do we just love Blade Runner because of the set design? Do we really just love it for the art direction?
Yes.
Yeah. The concept sounds so very interesting. Like, the concept of it all is really interesting. I personally, as somebody who's been editing all day, I would cut some things down a little, personally.
Blade Runner has had about a 40-year buy on just how amazing the art direction is on it. And Harrison Ford's pretty damn awesome in the movie and charismatic, and obviously we all love Rutger Hauer and like his monologue and Daryl Hannah and all that stuff. Like, but Villeneuve, I don't think is going to deliver us the last Dune movie that we got. This definitely looks like it's at least trying to be more loyal to the books. And the scale is, when you think of Dune and you think of the scale of the planet and the politics and what they're up against, the elements, this is the proper scale for it. It looks incredible. So we're going to go ahead and give it we're pumped across the board. I got to tell you, though, I don't think that this is a movie that we will be seeing in theaters. I'm going to say it right here, Geekscape, and I'm really sorry about it. I don't think we're going to be seeing this movie in theaters in 2020. And I'll tell you why. Because it's got a Legendary Pictures logo. It's got Warner Brothers logo in front of it. And this is going to sound really unpopular, but I don't think we're getting Wonder Woman this year, too. And I'd be really worried about whether or not I really wouldn't think that we're going to see Black Widow as well. Tenet was the movie that, with Christopher Nolan behind it and Warner Brothers behind it, Tenet was supposed to get people back into theaters. Theaters weren't ready, at least in the U.S., to get people back into theaters. And Tenet came out and was a disappointment at the box office because it was going to be a disappointment at the box office. Even if you had every seat packed, you still only had 50% of the seats available. And we're kind of living in the era of VOD. This is just the reality that we're in with the pandemic. And if Tenet was anything, Tenet was the warning that Hollywood is not quite ready to put people back in theaters. And I don't want to call Tenet a misfire for Warner Brothers. Somebody had to come out and try and do a wide release and see if it worked. And if anybody was going to do that, it was going to be Christopher Nolan. But it didn't work. And now we're going to start seeing these movies that were supposed to come out in November. They're going to start sliding into 2021. They're going to go into the spring. They're probably not even going to go into January, February, which are usually dumping grounds for the
B-rated.
The movies that didn't get, that they weren't going to find a place in the Thanksgiving movies, which are usually Harry Potter, Thor. Marvel usually has a movie like that. That's kind of where they're Black Widow, and then there's also the movies that are Oscar contenders that usually fill up the December calendar. Usually January and February, you're going to get a little bit of a dumping ground. You're going to get the sports movies. You're going to get the family movies. And then in March, you start to get the early summer stuff working its way into late March for the Fast and the Furious movies. You probably get like a Marvel film sometime in April. But
a Captain Marvel film too.
We're going to start seeing all this stuff slide into a pretty crowded spring, early summer. I don't see Dune, which we're all excited about, coming out in 2020. Just my prediction.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I think if nothing else, like we also learned that Tenet was you shouldn't have your director mix your sound, but
wow. There was a Comic-Con where Legendary Pictures used to be our neighbors across the aisle at Comic-Con, and they had the summer where they were promoting Inception. And they just had that Hans Zimmer score going at full blast all summer, like ringing our fucking bells. Dun, dun, dun. I think it gave all of us but Matt Kelly brain damage, only because Matt Kelly already has brain damage. For the most part, it was a rough weekend, long weekend. But thank you. Yeah, there's something excessive about the audio in those movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just I don't
Interstellar.
know.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing is that these big movies will eventually come home with us. Like if we buy them on DVD, Blu-ray, on DVD. God, what am I saying? VHS right now. But eventually, everything does move to the home theater, and if our home theaters aren't built for what it is you want to display, you're gonna have to push back.
Yeah, and something like Dune, I don't know if you could have the coolest ass TV. I don't know if you want to see Tenet or Dune on your big ass TV. That's like a theatrical movie. And the Seth Eisenberg says though he's sitting there, and one of our viewers says, "I want my James Bond at home." Damn it! I think a lot of female viewers are also saying they want their James Bond.
Yes.
Yeah.
Idris Elba.
Jim Paganelli says Nolan has kind of lost it since Inception. He loves big showy concepts and tonal flourishes and stylistic devices more than character development and cohesive plots. His films haven't been essential viewing for a while for me now. Wow, that's pretty. I think that if you're going to watch Nolan, you're going to watch him in the theater. You're going to watch him based on just his huge spectacle anyway. But plot-wise, I mean. You know what, Chris? Nothing but props. I think your designs are amazing. I'm going to go all the way to Prestige and say that with the ending of Prestige, I was like, wait, did he just...
Saw that coming a million miles away.
And did he have to like roll his sleeves up and show us how the trick was and the fact that he cheated? And I just... It's just ain't gonna... I've not been there plot-wise for Nolan for a while, but... I got to tell you, Derek Cranevelt is in Vancouver. He's not stuck here in the U.S. like we are. And he says he saw an empty screening of Tenet this weekend. It was rough to market as this is the movie you need to see in the theater when the audio mixing was so rough. But you could only understand 60% of the dialogue.
They've been putting up signs at the theaters that said, this is how it's intended to sound. And I was like, you shouldn't have that, especially if you're pushing so hard to release in the theater. Like there's so many things about this that I'm like, it's such a bad idea.
Well, it's like how we wanted Bane to be in Dark Knight Rises. Now we're like, no, that's how we want it. Everybody true artiste.
Well, that's what every student filmmaker always says about their student film. It's supposed to be that way.
You get it.
You
get it. Yeah, now everybody is Bane in Tenet.
Everybody's Bane. I think Chris Nolan is a lot like if Data from Next Gen made movies. He's like he can get all these precision things and these high concept ideas, but I don't ever feel like there's a much emotional weight or heart. I kind of feel like he's a robot who's trying to like mimic humans, but doesn't quite get it. And that's why I don't feel like a lot of his work connects with me.
I bet Christopher Nolan and I could have like an incredible conversation. I bet that he's cordial. I bet that he's charismatic. I bet that he's a fantastic human. But as you know, making content, it goes through so many processes and so many design requirements that sometimes by the time it gets on screen, the heart, that human connection, sometimes it just gets lost, which is why, going back to talking about Denis Villeneuve, you know, with a movie like Arrival, which is literally about language and about the miscommunications and all that, like the human elements of that movie were actually really well done, and there was a connection there. Even though a lot of that movie is visually interpretive, a lot of that movie, he's telling it out of order temporally, which is something that I wish actually Nolan hadn't done with Dunkirk, is telling it out of order. And it just with Arrival, you watch how it's made out of order, put out of order, and you're like, oh, I get it. There's a time element to this that is important that I need to figure out for myself.
Right, and it's important that it happens in that way. It's not just thrown in there for style.
Yeah, Dunkirk, it felt like I didn't understand why it was told out of order, and it's one of the Christopher Nolan movies. It may be the Christopher Nolan movie where I was like, I could have used 30 minutes more of this early on to connect to the characters before everything started going down. And you know, guys, I do not envy any filmmaker making those decisions and getting those things on screen. It is not easy. It's not easy. And you know, you watch stuff like the Jonathan Nolan working on projects like you know, you've got him on Westworld, and that first season of Westworld was a lot about that.
First season was great.
Fine. And that first season did some really great stuff. And then when you start seeing some of the temporal stuff happening in season 2, it starts to get away. And you know what? Like, I'm all for people going for it. Like, you have this crazy idea, go for it. It doesn't always work. So speaking of watching stuff at home, I went ahead and I watched Mulan.
How was it? We haven't rented it yet.
Okay,
so we're very excited.
Heidi and I, we watched a little bit of Mulan this weekend, and this one we talked about as well. We talked about Mulan almost as much as we talked about Mark on this show, because we were talking about whether or not we were going to pay the extra $30 to watch Mulan. We've already got Disney Plus. How is Mulan? And I'm going to go ahead and sorry, not out of like a cop out, I'm going to go ahead and put my review in with the majority of what I'm reading as reviews for this movie. It didn't work for me.
Really?
It's getting. Is
it because there was no singing? Is that why you didn't like it?
I got to tell you. I got to tell you.
Tell me.
There's something to be said for the artistry of cartoons and the artwork that Disney Animation does, and the songs being a huge part of that. But there's also got to be something to be said for the years of writing and reworking and story work that Disney puts into these animated films, because there's such a long investment for them. And this film just felt like it couldn't quite land the tone. It opens with Mulan chasing a chicken around her town to show that she's skilled and playful, and it's fun. It barely pays off later, and it goes from like a playful fun scene to like a family drama scene to some political intrigue scenes. It didn't quite land anything that I felt was tonally cohesive in the movie. And I actually fell asleep at parts. Like, I never thought.
Oh, wow.
I never thought the Huns were too much of a threat. I never thought her identity was in too much danger of being revealed. It just kind of felt a little flat for me.
Really?
That's kind of how I feel on the Mulan thing, and that's kind of where a lot of people are landing on this thing.
Okay, all right. Well, we personally haven't gone in on it just yet. We were thinking about maybe sharing it with some friends of ours nearby, just letting them log into our account. But
that is theft.
Is it? Is it a work in the system? But at the same time, like, even a $30 ticket to $15 tickets is totally reasonable, I think, especially for a big release movie. I'm very excited because I love the story of Mulan. I loved the cartoon as a kid. I loved even like the little stuff that they had on the Disney Channel that was sort of in vein of that. But I don't know. With that kind of a review, I'm debating on whether or not we should just wait until it's released on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, Daniel Campuzano, he's known as Big Yanks around Geekscape parts. That's his little name on the Geekscape forums back in the day. Daniel Campuzano, he lives in Long Island, and he said, "Hey, wait till December 4th. It'll be free on Disney Plus December 4th, and I would suggest watching it then."
Okay.
Is it a bad movie? No, I don't think it's a bad movie. It might be a good movie. I just think that it's a movie.
Sure. Okay.
It's good to see Jason Scott Lee work. It's good to see Jet Li. It's good to see Donnie Yen. It's good. I mean, in all honesty, I'm going to be a little more critical on the movie because I think that when you step up with this level of representation, you got to knock it out of the park. And it's important. Like you show up with a Black Panther, you got to knock it out of the park. You show up with a movie that is culturally
live action.
Yeah, and it's culturally significant to a lot of young kids and people who want to see themselves on screen. I think we're in a place. Y'all saw the news with the Oscar nominations for Best Picture. I don't know. I'll catch y'all up, but there's a set of 4 requirements based on diversity and representation that a movie has to abide to. You have to abide to at least 2 of these 4 requirements in order to be eligible for Best Picture. And when you read the requirements, like some of these are you have to hire women or people of color in certain set departments. You should already be doing this. Come on, homie. You should already be doing this. It's hard to make a movie and not hire women in the departments.
It really should be. It really should be hard, but people find their ways. And when we have an orange baby leader saying that diversity programs are anti-American, people get crazy with some stuff. And so it's this should be innate. This should be inherent into the process, but it's not always that case.
So for me, I'm just going to say that whenever a movie steps up and is that big on the representation like Mulan is, really get the story right. Really make sure that when people see themselves on screen, the story that's behind it really resonates and really is one for the ages. I think it was okay if you bring back the Eddie Murphy dragon in some form.
I was I bet they don't bring that back at all. So
Mushu
even a sidekick.
Yeah, I don't even think there was a Mushu shout out. It could have been during the time that I was dozing off, but I should not be dozing off during a movie with epic battles.
Historical epic.
If you want to watch a movie like this that is phenomenal, John Woo made a big 4-hour, 5-hour, 2-parter several years ago, about 10 years ago, called Red Cliff, that I think you can either find as literally a 5-hour movie or 2 parts. John Woo went back to China. He made this movie. The movie is phenomenal. It has enormous army battles and crazy shit. Big Yanks, who we were just talking about here on the show, he and I saw it at not the Angelica. I think we saw it at the Sunshine Theater in New York, in Manhattan. And Red Cliff is really a badass Chinese epic. That is the movie you want Mulan to be. It is awesome. So many actors, so many characters in that movie, so many badass army battles and strategies that you actually see laid out. That's a great.
Now, do you think it was a little bit nerfed because it was a Disney film, or?
Yeah, I think it felt nerfed, man.
It was just handled with gloves or something, or what?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So Rick, though, he says, "Hey, I'm dozing off during this review."
Oh,
Rick, though, I don't know what you want, man. I added a co-host. It wasn't good enough. I added the co-host boyfriend. It wasn't good enough. I don't know what you want from Geekscape, but I do know this.
London.
I will listen to you if you go to the Facebook group, Geekscape Forever, and you join. I solicit opinions there. I ask for advice. That is like my little Geekscape brain trust. So if you're watching this, you can go on Facebook and join the Geekscape Forever group, and maybe I will listen to your opinions and respect them as much as I respect the opinion of my friend Jim Pelgrinelli in Brooklyn, who says it's slightly problematic. Disney thinks a number of Chinese government authorities responsible for the systemic persecution and mass imprisonment of the Uyghur Muslims. Yeah, the story about the Uyghur Muslims, I'm totally mispronouncing that, but these are Muslims in northwest China who are being put into concentration camps. If you watched this being covered on This Week Tonight, that stuff is big, and they filmed some of this movie in that part of China, and they thanked them at the end. Thank you, Chinese government in this region that is literally putting people into concentration camps. That's a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and even the lead actress was in support of the government, where everyone was like, whoa, what are you talking about? Yeah. So there was a lot of protests against the movie and buying the movie when it came out.
So I would say wait till December 4th.
Yeah,
Watch it on Disney Plus. That is what I think about the Mulan going down.
Are there any other like big movies that are coming out that are potentially like pay to play in a way?
Cobra Kai. Just watch Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai is on Netflix. That's free though.
Just watch Cobra Kai. That's my advice to everybody. If you're not going to watch Avatar: Last Airbender or Legend of Korra, just watch Cobra Kai. Like Cobra Kai never die. This is, just watch
I'm not
Cobra
gonna
Kai.
lie to you. I watched the first episode, and I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was cheesy as hell. I was like, wow, I don't know if this guy's the bad guy yet or not because he's such a loser. I get it. Like the first episode, and like I've heard great things. I've heard it's fantastic. It's a lot of shout outs to the movies, which I'm really in for. But like that first episode, I was like, what is this?
Listen, Mark, you don't have to watch it with her. All right, buddy? Like
I've already watched it. I watched it on YouTube Red when it first came out. And that now defunct thing.
Yeah.
It is cheesy, but I was with it until the season 1 finale, and then it was like so many callbacks to the movie that it was getting ridiculous. It was taking me out of it. So I mean, it is cheesy. You know what you're getting. It was fun to see the characters back, and I did enjoy it. And that finale just wrecked me. I was like, did you
watch season 2? Because I got to tell you, dude, season 2. You're going to be all in. The London Cox household is all in for Cobra Kai.
All right. I'm down to see Kreese again, so I'm in.
I'm not just kissing up to former Geekscape guests. The executive producers they wrote like Harold and Kumar, directed Harold and Kumar 2, and did the American Reunion, the American Pie kind of later on movie. Hayden Schlossberg and John Hurwitz, like those guys have been on Geekscape. I'm all in for this Cobra Kai thing. I can't wait for season 3. I'm sorry. Like, it is cheesy. It does have some cheese moments, but it feels...
All right, I'll give it another chance. It was just like that. Maybe I was just tired, but I was just like, I get it. He's drinking while he's driving. He sucks, but also everybody else sucks, and they don't realize that he's poor, so he doesn't really suck, and he's got a heart of gold. And it's like, okay. All right, but I'll give it another shot. I promise. I'll go in with new eyes. Oh, you're muted, dude. You are muted, London. But thank you, Mark.
Sorry about that, Katie. I was taking care of something in the chat room. Sometimes when you go ahead and you live stream, every now and then you get a couple people, usually on Twitch or Facebook or Twitch or YouTube, who are like, yeah, I'm going to go and write a bunch of profanities in here. Again, Geekscape listeners who've been with me for so long on the podcast stream, I'm sorry. Help me out here, podcast listeners. Like, what is do a little research. I need the hive mind to come in and be like, hey, we need a better streaming service with better audio. Or do you like the conversations with yourselves in the chat rooms? Like, what part of Geekscape do you enjoy? Do you enjoy the interactivity? Do you like the episodes where I just talk to a guest? Katie and I talk to a guest, like whatever y'all like. This has really been your show for 15 years, so I want it to continue to be your show. Let us know. Raymond Russell asks, can we still find you on Periscope? Oh, hell yeah, we're on Periscope.
Wow, you're streaming everywhere,
Periscope.
dude.
Yeah.
Big. If you don't mind, I would like to address Jim's question.
Yeah, go ahead, Katie. Jim asks, how about The Boys? I love The Boys.
I love The Boys, and maybe it's the fact that it feels like, oh man, if superheroes were real, this feels like this would actually happen. It's dark as hell, and you know what? I'm kind of here for it because we've had the DCs, we had the Marvel, but it was nice to have a universe that was completely different, and I don't know. I love it, and I'm very excited about season 2. We're about 1 or 2 episodes in or so, and it's great.
We got one left before Friday.
Man, I am a little bummed that we're slow releasing things out. I love that, it's keeping me interested, and that it feels like old TV used to be. Man, I feel like that used to be now. It's antiquated now. Old TV, where episodes released once a week. but I miss binging it, and I really want to see what happens next.
Well, there you go, Jim. That is why we add Katie to the show. If there's anything I can't cover, Katie's got you handled right there. I got to tell you, like, we are, we got some video games coming up too. Like, there's some video game going down, and you know what? It's old school, but I'm excited about the Mario 3D All-Stars coming out, where they're finally giving us a Switch updated version of Mario Sunshine. Like, finally.
Yes.
The only thing I would actually wish is that they would also include Mario Galaxy 2 on the disc, because Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 were incredible.
The thing that I don't really understand is that it's a limited offer. It's a limited time offering between whenever the release date to like March 2021, and like then it's done. Nintendo did a couple announcements recently in their Nintendo Direct where they said this is a limited game. There's a Mario version of like almost like a Tetris 99 thing where you are playing old school Super Mario Brothers like online with other people, and as you jump on Goombas and jump on Koopa Troopas and all that stuff, they show up on other people's screens as they're trying to clear the levels. And so it seems like a cool remix version of the original Super Mario Brothers, and that's cool, but it's only available online for a limited time. And I'm going to go ahead and get the Super Mario 3D All-Stars day one, but it is weird that they're going to go ahead and be like, oh yeah, and then good luck on the eBay market. Yeah, I mean, I guess that will drive demand, but at the same time, I'm like, am I really going to have to hunt for this when I've got it on the N64 and a couple other platforms?
Yeah, the only reason I kept my GameCube was because Mario Sunshine was the game that had not been ported to any other.
And I never had a GameCube, so I did have the Wii where you could do the GameCube disc at the top, which was really cool, and I didn't find out until way late into having a Wii. But
you didn't know the Wii played GameCube games?
What's that?
You didn't know that the Wii played GameCube games?
I didn't know that for the longest time.
I'm like, on a technological level, the Wii got a lot of criticism for basically being a GameCube with waggle feature.
You know what? That's okay.
Derek Craneveld says the new Tony Hawk 1 and 2 is pure gold. He's a huge Tony Hawk fan. If y'all are fans, if y'all are enjoying Tony Hawk 1 and 2, like this new reissue of the classic Tony Hawk games, go back to like the first week of the pandemic in March, where I had the producer of the Tony Hawk game on to talk about the brand new documentary about the Tony Hawk games called Wishing I Was Superman, Wishing I Could Fly, Wishing I Was Superman, based on the Goldfinger song. But yeah, I had him on. It's an early episode from March, and we talk all about Tony Hawk and putting the games together, and then putting a documentary together about putting the games together. But yeah, it'll be fun. Seth Eisenberg asks, am I getting a Series X or an S? The S is the one that was announced for $300. The Xbox S is for $300, so that it could compete with the Switch. I don't know. I'm going to have to wait for games. That's how I always wait. But I'll tell you this, PS5, they got me with Miles Morales.
Yes. Yes, that looks so good. I'm very excited for that. I don't understand the like 3D audio thing. Is that what they're pushing?
Yeah, I'm down for a PS5 because we got to play my Spider-Man, and eventually they're going to come out with like their first party games, like the God of Wars, and I got to have it. And we're just going to see on the Xbox X or S what those features get you, because I don't go crazy. I don't go nuts. And Jim Pelgrinelli says that the Avengers game has been getting savage in reviews. I will tell you, we all saw it coming.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We saw it coming.
That was something you were excited about, Mark, right?
No, I was never excited about that game.
Never mind.
Looked lame as hell.
Absolutely not.
The Square Enix thing, I didn't have faith in them doing a third-person kind of adventure game. I just also didn't have faith that wasn't going to be what it's turned out to be, which is like just buy a bunch of skins and go Fortnite crazy on it. That just doesn't. It seemed like they were just going to fleece you on the cosmetics.
Yeah. When you can already do Marvel cosmetics in Fortnite.
Yeah, and I've heard some shade. A buddy of mine worked on the Spider-Man games. He works over at at Insomniac, and supposedly they were mixing on the same stages or working on the same kind of VO. I don't know what the story was, but the teams ran into each other, the Avengers team and the Spider-Man team. And the Avengers team, I think, had a head start. This was an Avengers game that was supposed to come out alongside some of the movies, and it's been in development forever. And the Spider-Man game has been in development for a long time, but so the story is told to me was that there was some trash talking from the Avengers squad towards the Spider-Man squad. And I think we know who won that one, because Spider-Man came out 2 years earlier and was pretty much game of the year.
Yeah.
And the Spider-Man game was, I thought it was game of the year. Red Dead got game of the year, I think, but Spider-Man game of the year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
And the Avengers game is like, oh, no me gusta. No me gusta. So, Mario 3D All-Stars, gonna get it.
Really exciting, yeah.
And then, the announcement of Hyrule Warriors.
Okay.
Age. I'm sorry. What? What do you want to tell me? I like the last Hyrule Warriors game, and I like the Hyrule Warriors smash 'em up games. And now we get the story 100 years before my favorite game of all time, Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild's great.
We get to find out how Calamity Ganon and his forces ruled Hyrule. I'm totally looking forward to, in November, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. You heard it here last. I'm endorsing it.
I am skeptical as hell.
¿Por qué, Katie?
Porque yo necesito Breath of the Wild too. Look, prequel.
You greedy little gamer.
I'm sorry, but like that game was so great, and then like the teaser trailer where it had like Hyrule like lifting into the sky, I was like, oh my god, what is happening? This is so exciting. Is this going to be a Majora's Mask? What is this going to be? No, we're going back in time, right when Link fell asleep for 100 years, and then we're going to be playing as other characters, which feels a little Majora's Mask, which I'm very excited for. Like maybe we get to play as the Zora, as the Goron, and all this. This is exciting, sure. Like the battling, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know. I just feel like this is just delaying Breath of the Wild 2. It's all
I don't mean to will actually you, right? I don't mean to will actually you.
Right.
But these are two completely separate game studios. This game studio is the one who makes the Dynasty Warriors games, and they made Hyrule Warriors, and that didn't delay anything on the Zelda side. And they say in the video that the development on the sequel to Breath of the Wild is a little later, but mainly because we were in a freaking pandemic and they want to make the movie awesome. And anytime anytime Nintendo delays a game, it's worth it. And they delayed the game, and we're probably going to get it maybe hopefully 2021. But the Hyrule Warriors
that won't happen. That won't happen until 2022.
Second,
you heard it here first.
Daniel Campazano asked if this is like Dynasty Warriors. Yes, Hyrule Warriors was exactly Dynasty Warriors in the Zelda world, and this Age of Calamity, you can play as Link. You can totally play as Link. He doesn't go to sleep until the end of the game when he's put into the rejuvenation chamber to wake up in Breath of the Wild. Like, you're going to play as the champions, the 4 different champions, from the Zoras to the Gorons and all that stuff. And then you're also going to get yourself Link. You're going to play as Zelda. You're probably going to play as the King. You're probably going to play all these people. It's a fun game. It's like 1 versus 1,000 people. It's amazing.
I've been burned already before with Kingdom Hearts. When they do out the redo, when they do out the 1.5s and all the stuff that's like, oh, no, this is in between. This is like a prequel, or this is right before the next game. And then like they keep pushing. And look, I know it's not Square Enix. I get it. But at the same time, I've been burned too many times before. And I feel like this is just one of those half-ass games that's just going to be like, look, you're back in Hyrule when things were, destroyed, which I'm excited to see. I will give it a try. But I don't know. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, you gotta be fucking
Katia, please. Katia, please.
No, I'm not.
The first Hyrule Warriors game was a really good game, and I'm excited for another one. And I don't think that it'll actually impact the release of the mainstream Nintendo Breath of the Wild sequel. And here we go with Raymond Russell asking a very important question. Do y'all play Zelda games for the canon, like the timeline and stuff?
No.
Do you actually play it for the canon?
No, not really. I mean, like I feel like you can't because that's just a whole
Which
Mark,
timeline?
I love you so much. I'm so glad that you're here right now. And
There's like 3 timelines in
super
Zelda.
there's an insane amount of timelines. You can't really connect them all. Like, let's be real.
But I'm down. I'm down. November 20 whatever. I'm getting this game. And if there's online features, I'm playing with Katya, my co-host.
Okay, I'm into it. Sorry, I just saw Mark's face just like,
Mark, as you can guess, when I asked you, what are your 3 major properties that you're a huge fan of? Zelda is one of mine.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Zelda is one of mine, for sure. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Toon Link.
Oh, wait.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Geekscape,
Geekscape listeners, I am putting Toon Link on the screen here on our live stream. And again, if you're not down with that, find me a different streaming service and I'll make sure to do it.
Isn't that right?
Oh my goodness. There's Katie.
Sword?
She's got the freaking sword. Funny story. I once found myself at Comic Con.
I'm wearing my sweatpants.
Katie just brandished Link's sword on.
Listen, I'm not a fan of the name of it being Master Sword. That just feels weird and always has. But it's a cool sword, right?
So you have the Master Sword. One Comic Con, I found myself wanting to buy the Hyrulean shield and the Master Sword. This dude was selling it, and you go around on Sunday and you buy all the stuff that people don't want to bring home. So usually you can get something like that for like $50, $100 off. And the guy had sold it, which is fine because I found myself like later that week being like, were you really going to fucking buy a Zelda sword and shield and put it up in your office?
Yes.
Were you really going to do that, Jonathan?
Yes, you were.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Baby, show him the Link figure I got you for your birthday.
oh my God, it's so cool. Okay.
This is what we're going to do. Okay, podcast listeners, I am sorry. We've gone full into the video. I hope y'all are enjoying this to listen to this, but Katie is now getting a Zelda, a Link figure. That thing has full articulation, probably has about 30 points of articulation, and she is brandishing multiple things on camera. So I apologize to you podcast listeners, but it is a tight figure. And you know what?
Link.
It's Skyward Sword Link, so we won't hold that against them.
Listen.
That is the worst Zelda game. But that is
The figure was cool.
but that is a cool figure, and I got to tell you, the designs in that game are really damn cool.
And the Breath of the Wild figure was over $1,000, so you know.
Holy shit!
You can't put a price on love, but it's not over $1,000.
Holy crap! Holy crap! Y'all are not in the stage of the relationship where you buy yourselves $1,000 Breath of the Wild figure, and I get it.
If I have $1,000 to spend on toys, I'm gonna get the Ultimate Collector Series Lego Millennium Falcon. Thank you.
There you go.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
Some people might use a chunk of that to buy the Unicron figure for the Transformers fans. Okay. Seth Eisenberg asks, it's been a while since I've watched. Is Show and Tell a regular segment? I gotta tell you, I don't think it should become a regular segment. Our bread and butter is still podcast listeners. So Show and Tell, let's not do that. And Derek, who used to do a podcast on our network, says it's not, but it should be. Derek, why don't you get your ass back to the Geekscape network and make your own damn show? All right.
Yeah, Derek.
I've been asking Derek to come back. Derek has like 2-3 podcasts on the Geekscape network that they have not come out in months. So Derek, I know you're suffering through a pandemic just like the rest of us, but some of the rest of us are still putting out podcasts. All right.
Shade. Massive shade.
Total shade. All right. Geekscape, as I hinted, there are many other podcasts on the Geekscape network. Maybe you want to do a podcast. Just drop Matt Kelly an email at matt@geekscape.net. If you're like, hey, I got an idea for a podcast. You got anything talking about wrestling? We do. We have podcasts talking about horror. We got podcasts talking about music. We got all sorts of podcasts. And I happen to host the 3rd or 4th best podcast on the network, the flagship Geekscape podcast. I'm grateful for all of y'all for listening to this. So that's what we do. Josh, why did I call you Josh? I called you Josh 2 weeks ago, and I called you Josh, but Mark, for some reason, I called you Josh just now. Oh. Josh. Mark, thank you for joining us, dude. And
my pleasure.
Josh.
I'm thrilled I'm not named Josh.
Thank you for being virtually quiet for the last 20 minutes.
While we talk about Zelda.
It was my pleasure to come on here and not talk about my dad at all.
Well, I mean, Mark, homie, I was hoping that did you want to talk about your dad? Like,
well, I thought that's why I was coming.
No, I thought that we were going to give you some respite from like that.
No. Katie said, we've been talking about COVID a lot, so we thought maybe you'd like to come on and talk about it a little bit. And I was like, well, sure.
But it was presented to me.
Katie, what the fuck? Katie, we're going to bring a guy on and be like, hey, you got any heart scabs you want us pulled and bled on the podcast for you? No.
That's what I do every single day. I wake up and I'm like, hey,
baby.
Let the pain begin. Mark, if you want to tell us something about your father, please, like that.
Oh, no, I mean, I just, the impact of COVID on the land right now, there's so much propaganda that goes both ways about it. But the one thing I will tell everyone that's listening and watching is that it doesn't just affect the person that has COVID. So my father was 77, smoked most of his life, and probably wasn't wearing a mask at all times. And he probably got it in a grocery store. Does that mean he should die? No, it does not. But he was one of those high-risk pools. The world is not better off without him. The man had been in AA for 7 years. The last 5 years, he'd made it his mission in life to bring other people to sobriety through whatever means possible. Him being gone is not good for the world. But it bears repeating that losing one man doesn't mean that was the only person that was affected. Everyone that knew him, everyone that went to AA with him, his sons, his daughters, his grandchildren, we are all worse off without him. And we were all deeply affected by the turbulent nature of this disease, where you get better and you get worse and you get better and you get worse, and you're in the ICU and you're out of the ICU and then you're back in it and then you're in hospice. That takes a toll. So for every person that's sick, gets seriously sick, multiply by 30, multiply by 40, multiply by 50, and that's the number of people that are actually affected by this. So they might not be infected, but they are affected. And I don't think that's talked about enough, and I don't think that you can discount that, because it takes a real toll on people. And we have 190,000 people dead just in the United States alone. We passed that number today. But there are so many other people that loved those people and that were helped by those people that are affected, and that toll is insurmountable. And so I just want to remind people of that it's not just the people that get it, it's the people that know the people that get it, and it's the people that are afraid of getting it, those essential workers, those hospital workers that put their life on the line just walking into a room. I had to say goodbye to my dad on FaceTime. It was too dangerous to fly. It was too dangerous to fly from LAX, get on a plane, land in Atlanta, then drive. Oh, and what you get in the end is you get to walk into a room with a COVID positive patient who is dying of it. So just think of it in terms of that. I think it will broaden your scope a little bit. That's all I want to say about it.
Well, do you have a geek memory or a childhood memory of your father that was
my dad
that shaped you?
Yeah, my dad back when Super Mario Brothers 3 came out, it was like the most popular game. Couldn't find it anywhere. Every time I would run into a store like a Target, Kmart, something like that, I'd run the video game section, see if I could find Mario Brothers. It was never there. And then one night my dad came home. It was a Friday night. I'll never forget it. Games were still like $60 then. Yeah. The price of games have not changed. They were expensive as hell back then, accounting for inflation. And we weren't really well off. But my dad found Super Mario Brothers 3, came home on a Friday night and had it in your bag and handed it to me. And it was I'll never forget. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. And so that's kind of one of the bigger nerdy moments of my dad. My dad was more of a Lee Marvin, John Wayne guy. So right. He didn't, although he did love Star Wars. And one of my favorite stories was him describing the moment he first saw Darth Vader on screen. So the smoke clears, the stormtroopers have run out, and walking through is Darth Vader. My dad recounts this as going, "Oh shit." best damn reaction during Vader's appearance. He saw it in theaters when it first came out, and they didn't know anything about this movie. And he always recounted that. So I always remember when I see Darth Vader, I think, oh shit.
Damn, Mark, thank you. As Raymond Russell says, come for the geekdom, stay for the feels. Dude, again, condolences on your dad's loss. And I think what you said is absolutely true. And this is a tragedy, a preventable tragedy that more people are suffering through than just the numbers y'all are seeing, whether you believe that 6% number or the actual number, that there are 200,000 American lives that have been lost off of preventable disease that have, as of today, you saw the Bob Woodward story that hit, and you saw that this is something that they knew was going to be as bad as it was, and they played it down and they played it down and they played it down at the cost of American lives. And so 2 days from now, we're going to be celebrating 9/11, and the not celebrating 9/11. We're going to be thinking about 9/11 and remembering 9/11, and just remember that we're having 9/11s every 3 days now, and the number of American lives lost. And when you see somebody who's like, never forget, we're being reminded every 3 days that this is a loss that we are suffering through every 3 days, and that the people in charge are just telling us it is what it is.
Right.
So this is where I throw up the banner if you're watching this and say register to vote. Go to www.vote.gov, register to vote if you feel so inclined. Click that little button like I did and volunteer to be a poll worker. A lot of Geekscapists are of the age where you're not elderly, and when you voted in the past, you saw that a lot of the polls are being, a lot of the voting booths, these are being manned by older people who are at risk for dying of COVID. They're in the high risk group, and they need people our age and the age of my audience to go out and be volunteers. So if you feel inclined, click that little button and volunteer to be a poll worker on November 3rd, because we need to get out there and we need to vote. We need to flip this fucking story, because Mark's father's death was preventable, and it's just a total tragedy. And thanks for coming on. I mean, honestly, Mark, like I was, things were getting so geeky and so good. I didn't know if you were having a good time. And
I was having a great time.
Okay.
I can talk about my dad's passing without falling into a pile of mushy goo. Like, we've
had that on the show. We've had that on the show.
Healthily, I think, and I can find joy in joyous moments, and and then I'll find sadness in the sad moments, and I can do both at the same time, and it's okay.
Okay, well, dude, thank you for sharing that with us. I will allow you to continue to date Katie.
Okay, wow. You have control over that?
I will allow it. I will allow you to continue to look out for my co-host. Katie, you must continue to be my co-host after G4 hires you. And I want to thank everybody for watching and listening and being a part of Geekscape. Obviously, you two, Katie and Mark. But Geekscape, as far as they're listening and watching, thank you so much. The best thing that you can do if you enjoy this product that we put out for you is tell your friends about it. And as I said earlier in the show, go to whatever podcatcher you found us on. Maybe it's iTunes, maybe it's Spotify. Review us, leave some marks. Whenever I solicit guests and go out and try and put feelers out for guests and bring them to you, or we ask places like Comic-Con if we can go and do like a live panel or things like that, it really helps us out. It helps our visibility to say that we have a ton of reviews and a fun fan base. So go out there and really kind of tub thump a little for us, okay? It really helps. So Geekscapists, for Mark, for Katie, thank you so much for joining us. You can find them all on the socials. We got Katie at El Sassy Pants, and we got Mark. What's your social, Mark?
Mark S. Hampton on Twitter.
Mark S. Hampton on Twitter. Go find them and just search for Geekscape and you'll find us. That's it. Geekscape forever. Love you all. Don't hate, create. Over and out. Peace.